Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hi. How are the music levels? I hope they're okay. Hi everybody. Oh, I should probably come on camera. Hi. Hello. How are we today? Welcome to the stream. Today we are going to be going over some critiques for our lovely little patrons. Hey Terrarium and Fitz and Pigment and Dracatalu. Every time I see your name, I want to call you Dracula. But that's not it, is it? Hello. Hi, Fish. What's going on, everybody? Just chilling? Got time off work? Oh, hell yes. Very nice. I hope you have a lovely time off. Have a good little vacation moment. Yeah, okay. So, who would like to go first? I think Shawn isn't here because I think he's working, so he could probably go last. So we have Ink, we have Kuroe, we have Fitz, and Terrarium. So who would like to go first? Can you critique my art? So these critiques are for our Patreon supporters. If you would like to get your stuff looked at in another stream, we need like a little bit of lead time. You can sign up for our Patreon. There should be information down below. You're gonna get lots of comic work done? Bless. Good. You better. Can I go first? Sure, Fitz. Let's go. Let's do it. Up. Man. So weird streaming. Again. We took such a long break. Alright. Oh, okay, there's your comments. Right. So you're looking at a critique for the lineup. Things like, do they look distinct and cohesive? Okay, so from left to right, there's Octavia, Milo, Pierce, and Lenore. They're from a comic idea? Yes. So I definitely know Milo and Pierce. Octavia and Milo are new recruits to the superhero organization. Pierce and Lenore are veteran heroes. Okay. Octavia has the power of invisibility. Milo has telekinesis. Pierce has cryomancy. And Lenore has pyromancy. Oh, nice. Okay. Okay, and then the other submissions are more focused on designs. Okay, so I don't have to go too in depth here. Just making sure everything looks cohesive. Okay. Okay, beautiful. All right, so Fitz, if you have any specific questions, just let me know as I'm going and I can answer them as usual. Okay. All right, so. Okay, so looking at the designs, so Lenore and Pierce definitely look very cohesive, like shape-wise and design-wise. Like they definitely look like they're wearing uniforms, or at least like matching clothing to each other. Like they're just from what I know of the story, like I know it's like an organization, so I'm assuming it's uniforms, but they could also just be like a team and this is like their team outfit. Either way it works. Yeah, like I like how they have the matching kind of like twin tails on their outfits, and there's lots of like repetition with like the line kind of going down the middle, with like the cutouts on their chests. Yeah, very similar like silhouette kind of thing, like echoes in their designs and stuff, but while not being like exactly the same. Like, I like how you have these like kind of triangle cuts on like the like sleeves and Pierce's arms and stuff. There's nice repetition with like the pointed bits to their clothing. Like silhouette wise it looks similar, even though like the items of clothing are different. Like with Pierce it's like his shoulder pieces, and then with Lenore it's like the collar of her coat kind of thing. Oh, they're twins? Okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Ooh. Okay, I can definitely see that in kind of like their face shape and definitely the hair color. That they are related. Okay, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I definitely like the parallels between them then. As for Milo and Octavia, I think with Milo, there's some nice echoes between his outfit and like Pierce and Lenore. Like I like the star kind of motif. There's like Milo seems to have like this 5-pointed star that's like exclusive to him, and then they all have this 4-pointed star on them. Like Octavia has it on her necklace, he has it for his like hoodie drawstrings, and then they have it on their chests. So I like how it's kind of like repeating through all the characters. That's really nice for like a uniform type thing without it all being like exactly the same. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like visual similarities between Octavia and Milo, and then separate kind of similarities between Pierce and Lenore. Where like Octavia and Milo both have more kind of like square, soft kind of shapes, where Pierce and Lenore are a lot more pointy and triangular. You've got a nice kind of like repeat of the vertical kind of blocks, like with Octavia's shorts and then Milo's shorts. Yeah. And I do like how all the characters have their own kind of like distinct color. Milo's is interesting because he like the yellow's clearly his distinct color, but he also has the blue underneath. And I think just from what I know of the story, like I know him and Pierce are gonna have like a romance or relationship in the story. So it's interesting that he has the blue kind of like motif matched with the yellow, where everyone else is very like, they have one color, and then like the black and the white is kind of like the only other color in their design. So it does make him stand out. I'd be curious if in Pierce's design, like maybe to make him feel more main character-y, like bringing in some of Milo's yellow, unless that's like, you could also do it like later in the story, you bring in the yellow bits to kind of show they're like getting closer. But in that case, you may also want to like have Milo have like his just yellow, and then as they get closer, like he gets blue and then Pierce gets yellow, if that makes sense. I was thinking that'd be cute. Yeah. I feel like Octavia needs something. Like, I feel like silhouette-wise, she's missing these kind of twin tails as, like, the kind of uniform thing. Like if these are all kind of like supposed to be on a team working together, like you may want to bring in what could you use? I don't know. You could give her like I don't know, like a cape or long sleeves or something to kind of mimic that like draping kind of pointed look. Because Milo has it with the hood, Pierce has it with, or Pierce and Lenore have it with their like coattails. But yeah, she just feels like she's missing that kind of like larger piece of the silhouette. Yeah, her sleeves could work. Yeah, definitely. Like they could be kind of long. And you could even use the same like transparency that are on her her leggings, for example. But I think that would kind of bring them together. But otherwise, I think they're pretty cohesive. Yeah, pretty cohesive. Good little team. And I do like how there's like visual distinction between like the more experienced heroes and then the new trainees. Because the trainees like Milo and Octavia look kind of like they're more in like streetwear. That's kind of been like modified to look more like on the team. And then Pierce and Lenore look like they're kind of, this is their hero uniform. That's very like distinct, if that makes sense. Yeah. Did you have any other questions on this? Anything I didn't cover? I love Octavia's hair stripe. That's cute as heck. And I like how it matches the nice like vertical line going through. That's good. Awesome. Okay. So, next one on the list is Milo. Right, feedback on overall vibe, design, coloring, line art. Oh, the close-up. Okay. Oh, right, yeah, because the full body's like a... Okay. The close-up is how I'm thinking the character will look in the actual comic, so it's a bit simpler than my normal shading. Okay. Okay. So, for his overall like vibes, he looks like a soft boy. He looks very sweet. He's got lots of like nice rounded shapes. The expressions you've drawn with him, like I really like the shape of like his face and his eyes. It just looks very, his expression is just very like open and soft and sweet. Like he looks like if you came to him with like you're having a bad day and you go to him, he would like listen to you vent and then like suggest you do something like cozy and fun together to like chill out. You know, like I feel like he'd be the mom friend. But yeah, but he just got this very like sweet, open kind of vibe to him. Yeah, I like how like, I want to say chunky, but that's not quite the word, but I like how chunky all his like clothing and proportion is. Like it's so round and like compact, and it's just nice. I think it really helps with the vibe. Hi, little miss. Welcome. Yeah. So yeah, so for the design stuff, I think you've got a good thing going with all the, like not square, but like you've got these like horizontal lines and vertical lines throughout, like with the shoes and the socks and the shorts and jacket and stuff. That's nice. It really divides things up. It creates nice like visual echoes through the design. color-wise, it's good. It feels very balanced. Like you've got a good little touch of the yellow throughout. Like I really like how it stands out in his eyes and like on the jacket and the shoes and the little star dangles at the end of his hood. Yeah, it's just really nice and balanced, like color-wise, contrast-wise. Yeah, and I like how you'll be able to use the hood, like when he puts it up. I think it'll like bring his design together even more. It's really nice. Is the critique for patrons only, or is it on the Discord? It's for patrons only currently. Yeah, so there's a link to the Patreon down below if you're interested. Yeah, so I think the design is like very tight, very good. So going into the like shading and line art on the close-up, right, and this is what you want to use for your comic. Yeah, so I think keeping it simple with the way it's colored will definitely help working on the comic. Like I like how you're using some gradients to, like gradients and kind of like really bloomy soft shading to imply some of the shapes instead of going super detailed and then using the like more crisp cell shading on top. Yeah, I think that'll be a lot easier for you to use when you're making your comic, and I think it also creates this just like kind of nice like shiny look to everything. Aw, thanks, little miss. You're sweet. What have I missed? Everything, Elfie. You've missed it all. You'll never catch up with everything we've gone over. No, you're good. Hi. Okay. So yeah, shading wise, that should be good. I think you've got pretty good contrast. If I were you, I'd be careful with what am I thinking here? When you're working on your comic, I would be very deliberate with where your light source is coming from, just so that you know where like all the shadows will go. I'm worried that like if you like in a particular scene, like I worry about things getting a little bit mid-tone, if that makes sense, like getting kind of like losing some of that contrast. With this, I'm noticing it on the neck mostly with like lighting and contrast. I think on like the face and the clothing, like the other parts of the clothing and stuff, like it's working really well. I really like this like kind of dark shadow going along like the edge of his face here. Like I think that's good contrast, and like keep that up in particular. But I find like kind of around the neck and like collar area, it feels like you're losing some of the shape to the shadow. So like because of where the light is hitting, where you have like light coming in from the right side here, like I don't think there'd be this big shadow here with the hood, for example. Like I think you'd see light kind of coming down into this area, for example. So when you're working in your comic, I'd recommend one, really understanding where your light source is coming from. So like if it's like sunset, like understand that like the light is coming from like kind of low in the sky, and it'll create really dramatic shadows. And like if they're in a room with fluorescent lighting above them, like the shadows would be like at the bottom of all their shapes. Anyways, that's a bigger topic, but I'd recommend going more, what's the word? Like go, what am I thinking here? Like use less shading. That's not it though. Like, I think it's like less is more. More dramatic than I think is needed. Yeah, kinda. Like go dramatic and contrast, but don't go overboard with where you're placing shadows. Like try not to over render. One, I think that will help save you time when you're working on your comic, so you're not like shading every little detail here and there. But if you just focus on like the big blocks, so like under the chin or under the nose and showing like the side of the face and stuff, or like the contact area, like underneath the hood, or like where the jacket is touching the hoodie, that kind of thing. Like focus on like the really specific areas that you need to like define the shape, and it'll get easier the more you do it. But yeah, I think it'll save you time and it'll really help with keeping your contrast up, and then you can use the like soft shading ingredient underneath to kind of imply that more like the more detail, you know, and keeping that soft shape to your art, if that makes sense. A more defined light source, that'll be easier for sure. Yeah, exactly. And I think having a really defined light source really helps with like making decisions about where to put shadows. And then, all right, so you were also asking about the line art. I tried to keep sketchier. I found that I like that look in other people's art. Do you think it looks messy? I don't think it looks messy. I think it, like if you were like zooming way into every single panel, like you'd probably, I don't know, you'd notice how sketchy it is. But I find like pulled out a little bit, which I'm sure most people will be if they're reading it on like their phone, or in a book or something, like, it still looks very like strong, and I like the sketchy quality. I think it keeps it very like fluid and loose. Like it's nice. I think it works really well, and I think your line work is a good like I think it's a good like line weight for the art. Like I think it really lets your like color work shine and keeps everything feeling like very soft. So yeah, so I think it's good line weight. I like the sketchy quality.
You have to lay down on that couch.
Yes, Serena, go lay down. Go be a good girl. Good girl. Yeah. Yeah. And it, yeah, and I think I really like the line work on the eyes. I think it makes like the eyelashes look all nice and soft. It's Sims 2 music, yes. That soundtrack slaps, I gotta say. Yeah, did you have any other questions? Close, yeah. I don't know, did Sims 3 reuse tracks from Sims 2? They might have just been similar in style as well. They have a similar song for Sims 3 cast. Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. It's a bop. Yeah, okay, let me know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, I'll move on to Pierce's design. Yeah, so like I mentioned with that larger sheet, yeah, his design works really well. Lots of good echoes with like the curved shape that kind of mimics like that 4-star. He also has this kind of like curved triangle shape throughout yeah, really good echoes of shapes, good contrast on everything. Yeah, looks really nice. I think his design is very cohesive. Love some pointed ears. I think it matches well with his the rest of his design. Um, I'm noticing, in particular, this drawing of his face. I'm noticing his eyes are kind of... Sorry, not both his eyes. This eye on the left side feels like it's shifted over a little too close to his ear. I think it just needs to be moved like a smidge towards the center of his face, just so that it's aligned with his other eye. Yeah, I think that's throwing it off a little bit, but easy to fix. Yeah, for the shading and stuff again, I really like the kind of soft stuff you're using with the like the harder cell shading on top. Same notes, but like what I was saying with Milo, with like when you're working on your comic, like choosing shadows and stuff. I had trouble placing that one. It can be tough. It can be tough. I feel you. I like what you're doing with the like expression and stuff. Like I like like I love the way his mouth is. Like he just looks so grumpy. Yeah. I think there's a couple places on him in particular, like around his jaw and neck, where some of the line art gets like a little bit thick. I might tone it down a little bit, just to kind of match. Is it the same with Milo? No, I find with Milo, like, the line art is all very consistent size-wise, whereas Pierce, there's some places where it's, like, very filled in, so that's just something to keep in mind. Obviously, like, when you're working on your comic, depending on like the tone you're setting or like the closeness of the shot or whatever, you can use thicker lines, so that's just something to keep in mind. There is one thing I really like that you did. I really like the line work like right here on the little starburst thing on his chest. This close-up looks very odd, but but I really like what you've done here, where you see how there's like this very thick line and then this very thin line. I think utilizing that, it really, obviously it depends on the line art work you're doing, but it creates good tension in the line work. It creates it's very similar, like when you're putting down lines, it's like having the contrast between using like lots of like straight lines and then curved lines, where having them like juxtaposed together can create like nice dynamic, like really dynamic visuals, if that makes sense. Like it leads the eye around in different ways. Like straight lines are read very quickly by the eye, and then curved lines are read more slowly. And I think there's like an interesting kind of like similar effect happening with that particular line there, where you follow this like really thin crisp line, and then it goes into like this thicker line for like a curve, and it's kind of showing like the contact shadow between like the piece of clothing and his skin. So that's something to like pay attention to. It's nice. Like I think you'd have to play around with how you use it, but that it creates like a nice little bit of contrast. I think it's similar to how like the corners of his mouth have like these like kind of thick daubs of ink, and then it gets thinner as it goes. Like it just creates this nice contrast in the line weight that really leads the eye around. I get big redeemed antagonist energy from Pierce. I can see that too. With Pierce, I was struggling with the line art because my sketch wasn't defined as Milo's. I think it's really close. Like, I really like how you've done the hair. Like, that has really nice line work, and honestly I really like the curves and how you've defined the different locks of hair. Like, it just creates like really good movement, and I think the line work's really there. And then there's just like here and there where I think things need to be like thinned out a little bit. Don't give me away, Effie. Yeah. Oh, I didn't mention this on the Milo work, but I like the places where you've colored in the line art as well. I think that's a really great way to like add... It's a way to add kind of like shading and texture to like your work and lighting and stuff without like having to shade things. I think it's just a really nice effect. Continue to use it. Did you have any other questions about this one? I feel like a lot of like my thoughts are just repeated like with Milo, where it's with like the shadow and line art stuff. So, but if you have anything specific to Pierce's design, ask away. Don't tell Bones I've stolen his watermelon Kool-Aid. Listen, we love a redeemed antagonist. I think the only other thing, does the form look okay? I think so. I think you've done a good job with the, like, using your shadow work to really define the form. Tips on depths and 3D-ness. Yeah, yeah, I think a place where you did a really good job with, like, the form is with his hair. I think you've done a really good job with using the shapes to really like make it feel 3D. So like I like how you got these individual locks that are kind of like triangular. You've used like I like how you have like a main line that covers the lock of hair, and then you have these kind of like I want to call them like tails, but like more suggestive lines around it to show that there's like a little bit of separation between this lock and then this lock. And then same here, and then you've highlighted it even more by adding some like subtle shadow underneath to really show that form. I think that's a really good way of doing it. And yeah, I noticed this with Milo's face as well. I really like how you have these nice soft highlights on these kind of rounder forms, like on the forehead and like the tip of the nose and like the cheeks and stuff. Like, definitely keep that up with using that like bloom of highlight to really show like a rounded shape. Yeah, so I think that works really well. And like I said, like when you're working on your comic, like understanding where the light is coming from will help you define these shapes even more. How dare you tell Bones? We used to, Rose Bubblegum, we used to not put on music, but a lot of people asked us to put background music in because I think it helps them concentrate. Thanks for the feedback. No problem. Thank you for submitting. Okay. All right. Who would like to go next? We have Terrarium, Shawn, Ink, and Kuroe. I think I saw Terrarium in the chat, so if you'd like to go next, let me know. I don't know if I've seen Kuroe yet. She might be asleep. Actually, no, she wouldn't be. I think it's like the middle of the day or the evening in the UK. Anyways. I'm here? Okay, awesome, Terrarium. Let's look at your stuff. Okay, so you said I'd like a critique of the line work. I asked for this before, but something about my line art feels amateurish? I don't think so. So I'm hoping a fresh pair of eyes will know specifically what looks wrong about it. If anything else stands out as being off, like proportions or pose, feel free to let me know. The character isn't important. It's just a random cotton themed pixie. I love this pixie. Don't be afraid to be blunt. I could never. Awesome. Okay, well. It's 4:41 p.m. in the UK. Okay. Is there anywhere you can critique my art without Patreon? Oh, I'm sorry, Bubblegum. We do have sections on our Discord where people leave artwork and get feedback with each other. I think it's in like the creative talk channels. So you can definitely get people to look at your artwork there. I would, but since we have people paying us, then I can't give out free critiques. I'm sorry. It wouldn't be fair to our patrons. Okay. So, Terrarium. I really like all the little details in your line work. Like, I love the little stippling on all of the cotton bits. I love the little details, like, in the hair and on the face. Like, I like how you've got these nice, like, little lines around the eyes and on the lip and stuff. Like, the little details on the leaves and in the hair. What? I don't know if you guys can see this. Hold on. I'm sorry. Look at the baby. Hi, Rena. Baby.
I didn't set her up like that. She did that.
Oh, she did that herself. Comfy. Baby. Sorry for that intermission. But yeah, anyways, like I was saying, love the little details throughout the piece. I think it's really nice, and I love your use of different line weights to show kind of different levels of detail. Like, I really like how you're using the really thick lines and dark shadows to highlight to really like show the form. Like, I really like how we get this like dark shadow where the dress ends and where it meets the legs, showing like the leg in the back versus the leg in the front. Same with like under the bust and this like cotton bit on the dress. And under the arms and the chin, like, it's just nice. I really like how you use these like really thick lines to denote where the shadows are. That's chef kiss. Yeah, really, really great work with the use of different line weights. Like, I love that so much. I think, so the thing is, like, your line work is very clean. Like, it's really great. Like, I love how you're using these, like more like organic, like shaky lines for the cotton and stuff to really show like the material versus like these very like straight crisp lines for like the wings and the body and face and stuff. Like it's very, like your line art is very controlled. There's the only place I'm noticing where it feels like a little bit messy is in the hair. There's like, it's so like subtle, but I think because like your line work is so clean everywhere else, it stands out that there's like a couple little strands that feel off instead of following like the form of the hair. So like there's little like tickies here and here and over here and stuff. Like it's very minor. And it only stands out, like I said, because your stuff is so clean and nice. So yeah, so just something to keep in mind going forward, to just keep like, for example, with the hair, like just follow the form as much as you can. I often struggle with the hair. I think it, like, you've done a good job with, like, showing the forms of the hair. Like, I like how you followed this, like, front lock of hair and then these kind of, like, sweeps of hair as they're being, like, tucked behind the shoulder. Like, I think that works really nice. And I like how you've added more details to the strands, kind of like at the bottom of the hair to show like, I guess like shadow and curve and model that form. I think you could pull back with it a little bit and just focus more on those big locks of hair. So like this front one, these like 4 pieces that are being like swept behind the shoulder. I really like how you've used some like thicker lines that are like closer together here to show like the shadow going back as the hair kind of like goes around the neck. So like keep that and then maybe like pull back on some of the like strand details. It's hard, like I like the strand details. I think they just need to like follow the form of the hair like a bit closer, like have like a main block of like a main strand block, like a lock of hair, like say this front piece, and then use a few sparing lines. Like right here is really well done. Like I like how you have this like nice crisp line that shows like the curve of this hair, and I like how you've embellished it with this second line, and then you have this nice like thick line outlining it. Like right here is just so nice, and then these just need to be like tightened up a little bit. So yeah. The only other thing, let's see. Yeah, I think your line work is like really, really good. I don't think you should be at all self-conscious about it. Like it's very, very clean, very precise, and it's got, it's really good at showing the forms. Like it's very, very nice line art. I think there's some places where the like anatomy or perspective feels a little bit off in this picture. Like I'm mostly noticing it like where the legs are connecting to the skirt and where like how the torso is connecting to the arms, and this arm here that like needs like a little bit of foreshortening. Like I find all the individual pieces look really nice. Like I love how you've rendered the legs here. I love how you've rendered the face. And like the pose is great, like it's very dynamic, but I think there's some bits where like her torso feels very long, her shoulders don't feel like they're quite connecting to like her neck, like little things like that, like her her legs don't feel like they're connecting quite right to like where her hips would be. So like there's some little things like that where I think you maybe need to do some more kind of like structure underneath, but your line art is like so good, so gorgeous. And like I said, like the individual pieces are really great. They just need like that connective tissue, if that makes sense. Did you have any questions or anything I didn't cover? Or like questions on like how to get like a certain effect, or like something you were worried about with the line art that like you were struggling with, that like you had questions about? I've been trying to reach professional quality with my inking. That's why I've been worrying about it. I think you're there, honestly. I think you're like so there. I think the only way you could like level up more is if you did work on using some like you could play around more with texture. For example, like I really like what you're doing with like the stippled stuff on the cotton bits, but playing around with like using ink work for texture, and then playing around with using really like big shadows, like big swaths of just like black ink fill. I'm trying to think of good things to reference. I'd recommend for just like inking techniques, it's mostly like ink on paper instead of digital, but Alfonso Dunn has like a really great book about inking. I'd recommend looking at I keep thinking of just like I find a lot of like, for example, like DC comics, again it depends on the artist, right? But like use like just that style of using like really thick shadows to like show form, and like playing around with that would be really interesting to see. Obviously like this is just like a character sketch, and it's very light and I want to say fluffy because it's like a cotton fairy, but like but yeah, play around with like using ink and like shadow and light to like really define shapes and like compositions. That could be really cool. I'd be curious to see that, but I think you're so close. Like your line work is so crisp and nice. Yeah. Do you have any other questions? No problem. That's it? Okay, cool. Well, thank you for submitting. Yeah, I don't think you should worry at all about your work not being professional. It's so nice. I love fairies. Same. Work on my anatomy more? Hell yeah. Like, your art's so lovely. Like, don't even worry. Hello. All right, who would like to go next? We have Ink, we have Kuroe, and we have Shawn. I don't know if Ink, Kuroe, or Shawn are here. So, I may start with Kuroe. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, Kuroe. You're being voluntold wherever you are. Okay, so Kuroe said, this is my webtoon thumbnail for Forlorn Hope, hence the large white area. Okay, so I'm assuming this will be used for like text, so like chapter name or chapter 1 or like episode 1 or whatever. May I have a crit on the character designs? Like how old the characters look, their personalities, and if they fit the thriller romance genre. Both are British. Okay. So there's Lance Corporal Captain and then Major Cupid. Okay. Okay. So, for their designs. Okay, so first off, I think this definitely would work for like a romance thriller. Like, listen, I've read those Harlequin books where it's like the bodyguard, true love or whatever. Like, yeah, it's nice. I like how it's like kind of edgy looking, but also like I could see these characters falling in love. You know. I think part of the romance vibe I'm getting is just from like the little shines you put on everything. It's fun. It's a nice contrast between the very gritty look, especially of this character. Okay, so I'm not sure who is who, like who's the Lance Corporal and who's the Major, because I don't know military stuff, especially British military. But yeah, so I feel like the character in the front looks a lot more sweet and like very more kind of like by the book, if that makes sense. Like very like straight-laced kinda, you know, like like they're in military uniform and stuff, but like still peppy and I don't know. Does that make sense? But yeah, just from the posture, like standing up very straight, like just seems very like straight-laced by the book. The expression is very kind of like sweet and open. Whereas like the character in the back obviously looks very rugged, very tough. There's blood on the knife they're holding, so I'm assuming they're a lot more tough and not by the book. Maybe do bad things that they're not supposed to do. So yeah, so those are the vibes I get from the characters. As for the designs, yeah, so I think you've done a good job with like contrasting their personalities. Like the one in the front, like I said, looks very like by the book straight-laced because they're wearing their uniform. There's no like adjustments made to the uniform. Their stance is very like standing tall like you would in the military, whereas the character in the back obviously looks very like tough and gritty. Like they've got like the scars all over. Their hair is just like buzz cut down, not gonna style it or anything. Yeah, like from what I can see, I also like the contrast between like their height and like physique, where like, you know, they're in the military, they're both probably pretty fit, but like the character in the back looks like really muscular and like big and imposing, where the other one looks more kind of like, I don't know, more slight in comparison. But yeah, I think design wise, I would, so color wise for their designs, I think they're very cohesive and like it's very like natural coloring for them. Like, because I know previously you use like very like bright bombastic colors, where these feel very kind of like neutral, realistic colors, if that makes sense. I would be careful. I'd make sure for this particular uniform, for the camo underneath, I might lighten it up a little bit, just so that it has good contrast with like the vest and the gloves and stuff, because right now it's all kind of blending together. I know that's kind of the point of camo, but you know, design wise, I think you need to make the vest and accessories darker and make the camo stuff lighter, just so that you have good contrast between the different pieces. And for the character in the back, I think there's good contrast throughout. Like I like the contrast between, like, for example, like their skin and the like the top and pants they're wearing. Yeah, and I think there's good contrast between the characters. Like, you can tell them apart very easily with their colors, but they're still, like, close on the color wheel, if that makes sense. Like, they're both very earthy, kind of brown green tones, but anyways. Yeah. I feel like the character in the back will stab as a warning. I love that energy. Same. Okay. I don't think Kuroe is familiar with this, but do you guys know the Magnus Archives? Like, the one in the back gives me Daisy vibes. Okay. Okay, so there's some spoiler bits, so I'm gonna read about them. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. So the one in the back is the Lance Corporal Captain. Who was a serial killer who killed evil people? Okay, literally Daisy. Okay, so she's been pulled into... Sorry, so she was a serial killer who got caught. Okay, so she... Okay, sorry, I'm trying not to, like, read this all out so I don't spoil your story. Okay, so she was offered a chance to join the army to make up for all the murder she did. And then there's Major Cupid, who I'm assuming is the person in front. It's the unfortunate man tasked with training Captain. Okay. Okay, he's very strict, but friendly. Okay, I can get that. Yeah, see, like I was saying, by the book, but nice. Oh my god, he's 6 feet tall. So she's even taller? Oh my god, she's like 6'5". Oh my god. Wait, okay. Wait, okay, so he's 5'11", and then she's 6'2". Oh my god, we do love a tall woman. I love it. I hope this will be a bit of contention in the story. I think that would be fun. So one thing I will say before I move on to the next piece, so if you're using this for your thumbnail for, like, on Webtoon, they have, like, the little thumbnail preview before chapters and stuff when you're clicking which chapter to read. So I'm worried this will be too small to really read, because if you're on your phone, which is how a lot of people read Webtoon, like, it shows, like, a really tiny preview. So I'd recommend testing this out, like, if you can still understand, like all the little details and stuff. Like, it might not matter because it's just a chapter preview, but yeah, just be careful with how small it is. You may want to do, like, a more close-up version. A lot of them people will use close-ups of faces. I get Zuko vibes from the person in the back. I can see it. It's just that intensity. Yeah, so that's just something to keep in mind. They may appear very small in your thumbnail previews, but I think you could use this image as, like, your banner image. Like, I think that would work really well. Okay, so I will move on. And Kuroe, obviously, if you have questions when you watch this back, let me know. Okay, so this is a study piece of young Kimiko. I was going for a more horror style with this one. General crit, and if it fits a horror theme. I think it does. I definitely saw this and I was like, this is from, like, a horror comic. It honestly, like, it looks like it should be, like, an album cover. It's got that vibe. But yeah, but I think with how you've done, like, the really stark shading, it feels very, horror vibes. And yeah, and I love this kind of like scribbled vibe to everything. Like, I like how all of the line art is very like, it's got this like feral energy to it that's very like scratched on. It's really nice. It creates such a good vibe. And I like how you've used it feels like the way it was drawn, this might not be the way you did it, but I really like how it feels like it was you used like this dark navy background, and then you kind of built like lighter colors up on top of it. Like, I really like how the background and then all of the shadows, and you've used a lot of shadow, which is really cool. But yeah, I like how the shadows are the same color as the background. I really like how you've defined like the curve of her bangs, and then use these like little wispy scratches for like the little hairs out of place. All of the highlights kind of showing through on her feel very, like, it's just nice. It's so, I like how you've like blocked everything in, and it has that like scratchy texture. And then like the focus really comes to like her face and her hand with just like the high contrast that you have going. I think I really like what you've done with her face. Like, I love how the little wispy hairs kind of like bring you in towards her face. I love the kind of like spiral feel in her eyes. Like, it just creates this very like manic, cool horror energy. I think her hand needs like, it needs something, but I'm not sure. I think it doesn't feel quite as structured as like her face. And like, obviously, like, her face is what you want people to look at. It's like got the highest like contrast. When you're drawing portraits, generally people want to look at the faces. So like, I think you've done a really good job with that focal point. But I think her hand just needs like a little bit more structure. Maybe make it feel a bit more like a claw kind of thing. It just feels a little bit off. But I do, and I think like you use some really like subtle kind of refined shapes like in the hair and the face, and I just like to see that more in the hand in particular. I think leaving it kind of blocky for the body works really well because you're just using it to kind of suggest these shapes. But yeah, but for the more defined hand, I'd like tighten it up a little bit. I think what's happening is like you've got perspective going on the palm of the hand, which works really well. Like, I like the dark shadow at the center of the palm. I think the thumb works. But then the fingers, like, I can tell they're kind of like peeled back like this, but it, like, I don't know, you can really move your hand that way. They just feel like they're in a different perspective than the palm of her hand, if that makes sense. But I think tightening that up would just be like chef kiss, so good. Composition wise, I really like everything at the top, like just the way it's been shaded and the contrast between like the writing in the back and like all the shading and stuff used on her face. Like, it works so well. It's so cute and calming, the music. It is. It's the Sims 2 soundtrack. It's so nice. It's just good vibes. Yeah, so I it's really awesome up here, and I feel like, what was that? What happened? Oh, Bones is throwing things in the background. Oh, okay. He angry. He's not. He just accidentally knocked something off the couch. Okay. Yeah, but I think once the hand gets a bit refined, it'll help. I think it also needs to be a bit bigger. Right now it's really competing with the face. So I feel like it either needs to be like bigger, like the hand is reaching closer to the camera, to kind of balance out with so that it's not like competing size-wise with the face. It can either be bigger. I'd make it bigger just because like everything that's so white is like at the top of the composition, and then there's like not much going on at the bottom contrast wise except for the hand. So making it larger, like making it fill this kind of like bottom quarter of the image, I think would really make the composition pop. And then maybe bringing in this, you'd have to see like how it looks if you made this larger, but just bringing something in here, whether it's like some writing or I don't even know, something here might also help, just to balance it out, because then you'd have 3 kind of white pieces going on, and using 3s is a very like pleasing composition piece. So you'd have this like this big piece of white here in contrast to like the dark background, and then this big piece of white with the hand, and then if you did something kind of small here with white, I think that would make a nice like triangle that would bring you around the composition. So it's just something to think of, but like awesome work with the texture, the horror vibes, the colors chosen, and I love the detail around the face. It's just so nice, and I'd love to see more of it. So thank you, Kuroe. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. Okay. So next we have Ink. Ink, I don't know if you're here. I don't think you are. So let me know if you have questions. Okay, so Ink said, I've got a trio of designs for you to pick apart. Okay, I'm gonna rip them up. Okay. I like the scratchy Japanese horror aesthetic. Reminds me of Tomino's Hell or The Nightmare Artist. Yeah, totally. I really like that vibe. Right, so Relic, this character I've seen before. The other 2 are new. I'm assuming they're from the same story. Okay, so 1, what vibe do they give off? 2, how does the shape language look? And 3, any tweaks that could improve the designs? And 4, do the designs feel cohesive between the trio? Okay. Oh, and he even mentioned he's out of town. So, there we go. Okay, so what vibe did they give off? Okay, I'll go through them and I'll give the vibes. So Relic I've seen. I know that she's like a sweet Shimbo, and I love her. So Nira gives off okay, Nira, like, you know how in magical girl shows there's always like the one who's like super cool and like a loner and wants to do things by herself? Like Nira gives that vibe, where like she's like, I can handle this alone, stupid. Like that's the vibe I get from her. And I mean, obviously she's like a rogue type thing, so like she seems very sneaky. I feel like also if these 3 are like a group together, she'd also kind of be the leader, like a reluctant leader who just like wants to handle everything herself and then has to deal with the other 2. So that's the vibe I get from her. And then Abo feels like the mom friend. I don't know. he feels I get, okay, it's probably just because he's like a fawn kind of character, but I'm like, I feel like he gives me kind of like meek vibes, you know? Like, I feel like he's cheerful and like he seems cheerful and sweet, but kind of a weenie. Like he'd run away in a situation where, maybe not run away, but like if a fight broke out, he'd be like, hey guys, whoa, we need to work this out, and be like, try to be the voice of reason. Like that's the vibe I get from him. He seems very sweet. Yeah, he's cute. I love the antlers and the hoofs. Okay. So that's my vibes. Hopefully they're, I don't know, correct or not correct, and you can adjust things. Okay. How does the shape language look? Okay, I'll skip to question 4 for like the cohesiveness between the designs. So, I find with Relic and Mira, so because they have very similar colors together, they feel much more like a team. Like Mira has the teal kind of major color in her design with like the bodysuit she's wearing. And then Relic is like all teal, like throughout everything. So they feel very similar. I also like how Mira's like has very harmonious colors with the teal, with like the purple and the pinks and stuff. It's all very like cool themed, and yeah, it just works really well together with Relic. Whereas I find with Abo, he's got very, you know, his main color is like this red color. I like the little bits of pink, like they do kind of mesh in with Mira a little bit with the pink details. But because like his color is so red, he feels like he's from a very different world than these two. Hopefully that makes sense. Like these two feel like they're part of like what would you call it? They're part of like a team or an organization or a guild or something, and then he's like wandering in as like an outsider. Yeah, so I think that's the vibe I get. For the cohesion, shape-wise, like thinking about the shapes cohesively. So like Relic has this very like square diamond kind of motif, and then Mira has this very like sharp pointy kind of motif going through with these kind of like jagged edges, and then Abo not exactly sure. He's got some square pieces, like rectangular pieces, but he's also got a lot of like really organic shapes with like his kind of curvy ears and antlers and the fur tufts and stuff. So yeah, so shape-wise, if they are supposed to all be on a team, you may want to kind of pick, like they can each have their own shape motif. So for example, like Relic could have the diamond shape, and then Mira could have these like kind of knife shapes, and then Abo could have, I don't know, if you want to go for like the curvy organic antler shape, for example. So those are like their individual one, but then they have another kind of layer of shape and color that kind of goes on top. So like, I don't know, you could bring in like earlier if you looked at Fitz's submission, they used, so for example, like Pierce had this very like triangular look, but he also had the kind of vertical stripe going through it, and all of the characters in that lineup had that vertical stripe in their design, even though they had other shapes kind of on top as their individual shapes. So something like that. And same with a color. Like if you have, obviously, like character design is all subjective, but it's very helpful to have characters all use like very similar colors. They can have like the common one for characters, like main characters, is like the primary color. So like red, blue, yellow. For example, if you look at like Gurren Lagann, the characters all have that color scheme. They each have like a color that kind of defines them more. Like example, like Yuko is more kind of red, and then Simone is more of the blue. Anyways, so yeah, so that that's one way to do it. You can also have like they each have their own color. Like I'm thinking like Sailor Moon or like Magical Girl, where they're all on a team and they're very similar, but they have their individual colors, and then the shape motif kind of like brings them together. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I think that whatever that thing is that you want to do, it's kind of missing from these characters. And then if I'm reading it wrong and like Abo is on like a very different team, I think with Nira and Relic, like you'd still need to bring them together somehow with like shape or color. I find shape is a better way to go because it's easy to read even if you're someone, if you change it to like a black and white style, for example, or if you change it to, or if someone who's reading who may have like a color blindness can still read things. I mean, if you had similar colors, I guess they'd see the same colors throughout the character. But anyways, it's good to have both shape and color, but it's up to you. Anyways, rant on that over. Okay, and so yeah, so then I'll go back into the shape language for each of them. So for Abo, I find his shape language the most confusing. So like, okay, so he's expert woodcutter, great social skills, desire for adventure, physically weak, and overly confident. Yeah, so like I was saying, I find his shapes a little bit confusing. There's some rectangular stuff going on, like I guess with like the shape of his like pack and his tunic and stuff. Like it feels a little bit square, but it's not quite there. Like it's not quite like the hard rectangles like on his belt. It's still kind of curved and soft, and then you have these like very organic shapes in like his hair and his fur and ears and antlers. That's kind of missing from his clothing, if that makes sense. So I think you need to kind of like choose a shape and really like push it with him. Whether that's like the square blockiness to kind of like highlight those like woodcutter tools or his equipment or anything. You could do like a really interesting contrast where like his physical form is very like those organic kind of like wavy wispy shapes, and then his clothing and equipment is very like square and bold. Yeah, you could really push it that way, or you could lean into it where everything looks very organic and wispy and almost like Art Nouveau with him, so it looks very natural kind of feel. It's up to you what you want to do, but it is, his shape language is missing there. It needs to be pushed more. As for Nira, yeah, she definitely has that knife motif like you see with the belt and the bracers, and like with her ears and stuff, like you see those shapes coming through. I feel like it could be brought into her silhouette a little bit more. Like the individual pieces of her costume have that like kind of sharp knife shape, but her overall like clothing choice doesn't have it. Like you could bring it into the hood more, you could shape some of her clothing a little bit more to have those kind of knife shapes, whether it's like she's wearing a cloak that maybe has like is shaped similar to like her bracers here, where it would have like individual like knife type thing shapes on it. You could give her, I don't know, like cutouts or lines on her bodysuit, or like there's lots of different ways you could do it, but I think it just needs to be brought into her silhouette a little bit more. And same with like her hair, I think. Like, I think the braid is interesting. I think you could do something with that, with keeping that kind of like pointy knife shape. But it again, I think it's just missing the silhouette quality, where I think the overall silhouette needs to have that shape, and right now it's kind of missing that touch, if that makes sense. And then Relic, I think you're good. I think you've done a good job with like Relic shape-wise is very like square and diamond, and then like I've given feedback on this before, so I think Relic's shape language is very like there. And then any tweaks to the designs. So I think Relic's in really good shape. Like I was saying, Nira really needs that like silhouette kind of like worked out more, and again, really choosing like the shape to go with. Like I like the knife shape, like I said, like the kind of feathery knife kind of motif. It could help to add like a secondary motif as well. That could be like the team motif, or her own kind of thing. Like, because she is like a bat kind of creature, you could bring in some like bat wing type stuff. You can make her ears bigger, or I don't know, like maybe like a little pointy fang motif throughout, like using more kind of like triangle points instead of like knife kind of points, if that makes sense. Like there's a bunch of different ways you could go with it, but I think she needs like a secondary kind of shape, and she really needs her silhouette kind of like tightened up. It helps when you're designing. Like I really like how you have this like very dynamic pose for her. It shows her personality, but I'd be curious to see just like a turnaround sheet for these characters, just to kind of see, you can explore kind of the shapes a bit easier that way. And yeah, same with Abo. He really needs his shape language tightened up. I think personality-wise, you've shown a really good job with him. Same with Nira, where I think through the posing and expression, you've shown the character's personalities really well. The only thing I was confused about was what's under his shirt. I think it's chainmail. Correct me if I'm wrong. But because of the way it's been rendered, where you've drawn out these like circles on top of each other, it looks kind of like bubbles or pearls or something. Yeah, I think if it is chainmail, you either need to show kind of like the interlockingness of each of these circles, or you could do like, instead of rendering out each little ring, you can just kind of imply the texture by using like kind of like a scalloped kind of line, if that makes sense. Yeah. It would also be cool to see more of the chainmail throughout. Like if you see like it peeking out on the sleeves, you could see like his hair poking through or something, or like a chainmail kind of skirt coming out from underneath the tunic type thing, like a secondary tunic, something like that would be cool. You could also look into a gambeson as well, which is just like a really thick padded piece of it's like a heavily padded shirt that people would wear because it's lightweight, so you're not carrying around metal on you, but it's also really good protection for if you're in a battle. So that could also be like a thing for him to wear, because I'm getting this as like a medieval kind of setting, medieval fantasy-ish. So yeah, so Ink, if you have any questions when you watch this back, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. Okay, so finally we have Shawn. Shawn, my friend, I know you're away, so if you have questions after this, let me know. Okay, so you said I have permission to nitpick. Okay. So this character's name is Lady Lantica. Okay, and you're looking for general feedback. Okay, so I get like a very like Queen Victoria vibe from this character. Like she looks like an old like queen type character, or royalty who like runs a house. Like the way you've used lighting is very like ominous and dark. Like if you've ever seen The Green Knight, that movie, it's got that vibe, like just that dark brooding vibe. Yeah, she looks very sad and somber. Like I love the way you've rendered her eyes, where like, yeah, it is tears. I thought it was just lines on her face, but you can see like the little glint of tears in her eyes. It's really nice. Yeah, I love the stark shadows. It creates such a cool, ominous, tragic kind of vibe. Where like most of her face is covered, and it like you see the dark shadows at her brow. It's just so nice. Such good atmosphere. I love the little details on her. Like I love, you can see like the pearls and gems and stuff in her crown, her hat. I love the glimmer and shine on like her earrings, and like these, I'm not sure if it's lace or feathers like on her the collar of her shirt or her dress. I'm assuming. Yeah, it's so nice. Oh my god, this song. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so I love the creases on like her face that really show her age. I love how you can tell like she's like pursing her lips, like you can see the creases in her lips, and like she's like holding back emotion or crying, and you can see like her face is kind of crumpled. Like it's really nice details, really great at showing that emotion. Yeah, it's just really nice. Really great shadow work. I love the contact shadow between like her crown and then like her forehead here. That's so nice. And like same with like the little necklace and stuff. Like really great work with showing the way the light is interacting with like the different materials. That's awesome. The only thing I'd say, as usual, is I'd love to see more of these details rendered out. I don't think everything has to be rendered out, but like because there's such detail on her face, like where the light is hitting, like up here on top of the crown and like along here and the side of her head and like earring and neck and like a little bit of like the front of her shirt, like I'd love to see it rendered out with the same amount of detail as like around her eyes and face, just so I can understand like what material is she wearing and like what does this crown look like. I think it's just as important in this image as like the detail on her face. So just building out and I think like in these spaces where it's like you've got these really, really dark shadows here, you don't need to put in those detail. I think it can fade out the way you have it here, but like wherever this like light is hitting, I want to see it really crisp, if that makes sense, just so I can get a really good understanding of this character. And then that could be like a finished illustration if like these little details were really like made really crisp. That would be amazing. It would be finished and beautiful, and I would want it on a poster. Color wise, everything is so cohesive. I love the little bits of like pink and red throughout. Yeah, super, super nice. I love the texture on the front of her dress. It's so good. It's so good. I just want more detail on it, please. But yeah, you do such a good job with showing like the atmosphere and storytelling through like the way your characters are like dressed and through the lighting and color. Like so good every time, so good. So yeah, Shawn, when you watch this, let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so the second one is called Lady of the Lake. Okay. Again, atmosphere is on point. It's very ghostly. Like this looks like yeah. She looks like a spirit who's like in the lake. Oh, hi bird. Hello baby, come here. Come here. Bird. Nidra. Oh, Nidra. I don't think she's gonna come down to me. I don't have any treats for her. But anyways. Nidra, come here. Come on. Hi, baby. Hello. She's up on it. There's a painting in front of our desk, and she's sitting on it. Hi, baby. Do you want to come see me? Oh, that was so good. You flew down to my hand. Oh, and you're on my head. All right. Okay, now. Hold on. Sorry, Shawn. Intermission. Forward. Get off my head, please. Don't bite me. Come on. There. Oh, almost there. Oh, so sweet. Hi, baby. Oh, okay. All right, I guess. Hi, Nidra. You go, baby. You go, baby. Baby's so cute. Yes. I think she's getting food right now. One's giving her her afternoon pellets. She's so cute. 10 out of 10. Good bird. Okay. Back to Shawn's critique. Okay, so yeah, super ghostly. Like, I love the use of like grays and blues. There's really nice texture work you've done, like on the cheeks and the face. Like it looks like freckles or blemishes. Really nice. I really like how you've rendered them onto the skin, where they feel just so integrated with like the shadow and form and stuff. Also really great work with defining the forms here. Like I love how you can see like the nostril and like the shine on the nose, and it's very defined from like the forehead. I'm finding her mouth feels a little bit low down, like in a different perspective than like the upper half of her face. Like it looks like we're looking at her mouth from like a higher angle than we should be. Like it should be more from below, like with the nose. So that's just something to be aware of. But like everything's rendered really well. Like you've done some really good like highlight work, modeling all the forms. Oh dear. There's some mess happening in the background. Yeah, really good. I love the shine on the eyes. I love the crease around the eyes, the little details of like the water around her face. It looks like these are like fish or little light orbs around her. It's hard to tell because it's so dark, but it just really good vibes. I'd love to see more of her beneath the water. There's a little bit of implied kind of shape of like her shoulder here, but I'd love to see a bit more rendered out. Like it doesn't have to be like obviously her whole head. Like I like how she kind of disappears into shadow beneath the water, but just seeing like her shoulder or like a little bit of her neck and collarbone I think would go a long way, to really kind of like fill out this part of the composition and kind of bring you up here. But otherwise it looks amazing. I think you did a really good job with rendering everything out. I love this subtle like shift from the bridge of the nose down onto the cheek. That's just really, really solid and well rendered here. Yeah, really good work. Okay, and then finally, we have this character. Her name is Tiggs. She's a Corsair of the Empire of the Veil Words. So you want a personality read and tone as well, and any other feedback. Okay, so personality-wise, she looks very like smarmy, if that makes sense. Like she's got a lot of like swagger and bravado. Like a kind of like, oh, I'm tough and powerful and I'll bully people, like that kind of vibe, but also like kind of fun. What? I would bully people, it's true. But yeah, but she just, like, she reads as like a villain to me. A villain, or maybe like, or Bones McKay, yeah, exactly. Maybe like, I want to say like a Han Solo type, but not quite, but that kind of like, oh no, you need to open your chocolate milk. Yeah, here you go, baby. But you know, that kind of like smarmy fun character who's like kind of a bad person. That idea. Not quite as swashbuckly as like Han Solo. Stoic? Not stoic, because he was like, well, I mean, Han Solo's like a grumpy guy, but like he's got that kind of like swashbuckler vibe. Oh no. Spoilers, Bones. Okay, so yeah, so that's the personality read. Tone-wise, this feels like a scene where you're like meeting the character for the first time. I feel like our character has gone into like a back alley or like a bar or something and has run into this character who's like waiting for them. And like, it's kind of threatening. Like, I feel like she's like, well, I gotta bring you into the Empire. But, or like, they're supposed to meet up and like, hey, I have a deal for you. Like, it's kind of ambiguous about her intentions. Like she looks like she's holding like a laser gun or something, but also smoking a cigar. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel threatened. I also got what is its name? Not RoboCop. Judge Dredd. That's the vibe. I think it's just the helmet with the red insignia on it, but I get like Judge Dredd vibes from the design. So take that as you will. But yeah, but I like how with the light shining in, I love the shine on the helmet. I like how you can see like a little bit of a smirk from her. Yeah, it's just the way it's lit and the way she's like standing, it's very like kind of threatening, ambiguous, not sure what she wants, but showing a lot of character with like her stance where she's just got like her hand resting on her gun. She's holding like a cigar or cigarette, like she's just been waiting and kind of smoking and doesn't really care. Like she's not tense at all. She's very relaxed and casual. So I think that is a really cool vibe. The lighting, as always, is impeccable. I love the kind of backlight, spotlight kind of coming, like it looks like we're standing under an archway in shadow, but she's like some light is filtering through and hitting her. It's really nice. The only thing I'd say, I think this front leg here needs to be cleaned up. The way it's shaded, it looks like she's turning her leg out to this side a little bit too much. Like it feels like a bit of a weird stance, where I think her leg would be kind of like out this way more if she's leaning her back against a wall. So yeah, her leg would probably come out a bit more like this. And then having it rendered, again, with the same love and detail as like everything up here would be great. But I do like the kind of haze around her hand. It looks like the smoke is kind of like filtering through and getting hit by the light. So that's a really nice effect. And I love the little kind of like triangle of like red tones you have going on with like the lit cigar and then the helmet and then the little light from the laser gun or whatever it is. Like that's just a nice little compositionally very good. Yeah, I also really like how she looks like this very imposing character because of like she's got this like very thick armor and this like very big helmet and stuff, and like she's got like a very like a big strong physique, but then you see just like this little cute lady mouth underneath. There's just some nice contrast there. It's very good. Yeah, lots of nice variation on like the dark colors, because I can tell that this is like she's wearing like a black or blue uniform kind of, but I really like how you use like some yellows, like the light coming in the background, and greens and some blues and purples and stuff to kind of like show the different tones and really fill out the shapes. It's just really nice work. And again, I'd love to see the stuff that's like being hit by the lights to be rendered out more so I can tell more lovely details, because I love the face. I love how you can see like her like her smile and the helmet and like the bit of her chest plate that's like lit up. Like I just want more, Shawn. I just want more of it. Please. More detail, more rendering, please. Because you always have the vibes. You have immaculate vibes, and then I just want the specifics. So I think that's it. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer on the Discord. So that's it. That's all we got. Well, thank you all for joining. If you yourself have watched this and you're interested in getting your work critiqued, whether it's writing or art or comic pages, whatever it is, there should be a link to our Patreon down below. You can sign up and we'll look at your stuff next month. Thank you all for coming. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day. Do some art or some writing if you're feeling up to it. But most of all, be good to yourself.